whenever there's an episodic series, you can bet two men will talk to you. AJ Talon and Owen Finch give their thoughts on Owen and AJ Talks.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Owen and AJ Talks. I'm Owen Finch, and I'm here with
AJ Talon, and today, first video of the new year, 2025, Rick and Morty, Season 1, Episodes 4 and 5.
So, AJ, I want to tell you a story. I tried to pick something from what you've been going through the past couple of weeks that was going to be lighthearted. I didn't want to do Yellow Jackets yet because the Yellow Jackets can be kind of dark type of thing. So I'm thinking, we'll do Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty can typically be lighthearted. The Mr. Basics episode, I didn't realize it's darker than I remember, which we'll get to.
We're all just craving to die, yeah. Well, I feel like that makes it funnier in a way.
Yeah, but there's also, in the other plot of the movie, there's...
we'll get to that when we get to it.
Yeah.
It was fun going back to these because I remembered episode 4 pretty much the whole thing. It had been a while. And for episode 5, I had, in my mind, the A plots and B plots were like separate episodes. I forgot this was all one episode.
Yeah, and I feel like I watched these almost 3 years ago now. And it was kind of cool coming back to these. Because obviously this was kind of like at that stage of Rick and Morty, because the next episode kind of changes the whole show. So this is kind of them trying stuff out with Rick and Morty, kind of showing how weird things are just going to get. And I also just kind of really like going back and watching these just to kind of see, it's just kind of crazy to think how off the walls they get type of thing, and how we're kind of in the status quo of the show and everything like that. They're not doing a big plot really right now. But you get kind of a feel of what Rick and Morty, every episode's going to be kind of about them going on a big adventure and everything like that. But let's just start with episode 4 first. It's season 1, episode 4. This episode is called M. Night Shyam Aliens, I guess. There's probably a smarter way to say that, because obviously we're just going to say this now. The plot of this movie, this is pretty much taking a shot and very influential to a lot of M. Night Shyamalan's movies. So that's why this one is called M. Night Shyam Aliens. So because
Shyamalan Aliens, yeah. Like you mentioned off camera, this is before he kind of got his groove back during this time. A lot of people joked at him and he made a lot of shit movies. And of course, everyone jokes to how he, all of his movies have some big twist in them. And it's always a super complicated layered twist.
So this one does it, this one does it triple, because I think you get 3 twists here. So it, I really like it because all the twists, I think for the most part will work real well, but I think it's kind of cool that they did this, that's kind of the biggest take. I think they just wanted to show that every movie of M. Night Shyamalan's has a big twist at the end of it and everything like that. So, do you want to guess, AJ, the date of this episode? This is gonna be tough because.
One. That's what sucks about these videos is we take big breaks, so I'm like, fuck, when did the last one come out? I'm going to say December 25th, or not, that's Christmas. I'm going to say January 4th, 2014.
You are off. But not by that.
Previous one, Christmas, so.
Yeah, but not by that much, though. This came out January 13th, 2014. They took a long break, I think, after...
10 days off. Considering I was just spitballing, that's actually not that bad.
Yeah. I think that's the closest you've ever come. I
think last time I was only off by 1 or 2 days.
Yeah, so...
I think I was off because, they took a week break or something.
Oh, it was some bullshit, yeah.
Yeah, like it would have been right if there wasn't like outside interference or something. I was like, what the fuck?
I think I had a real bullshit. Oh, the LVB one I remember was bullshit because it was like because that episode came, like the miniseries, it came out after season 9.
Even though it was set in between seasons 8 and 9, they released it in between 9 and 10.
Yeah, so I got like real bullshitted on that one.
Yeah, I was confused on that one. I was like, oh, I did not know that, you know?
Yeah. But, yeah, this episode was directed by Jeff Myers. I think we've talked about him before. And it was written by Tom Kaufman, who I think we've also talked about before. So you can just check out the other Rick and Morty episodes to talk about him. I'll say the voice actors at the end. I set myself up for failure when I did it as we were doing the episode, so I'll just do it at the end. But yeah, this episode starts off, there was no... like cold open or anything like that. Nothing, no like prequel before the intro or anything like that. They just kind of did the intro and cut right to the episode. I actually thought this was to this episode's benefit. I don't really think there was a need to do anything before the intro. I think the episode flowed better than if they had some in between the intro, because it would have been kind of weird. I guess they could have shown like maybe the opening scene, I guess, and then do the intro, but I don't really think they needed to do anything before the intro. Do you think so? Because obviously sometimes we feel that way.
I like how mundane it is, to set up like the plot of the episode, and also that like because Rick mentions these guys have been trying to like scam him multiple times. Mm-hmm. So setting it up where it's just a normal day, but Rick is like pissed off. He already knows he's in a simulation. Kind of just sets up the it does a good job establishing that this is like, okay, Rick's been here, done that.
Yeah. So we have the actual beginning of the episode, and like you said, Rick is he's known to act odd, but he's acting very like mundane, like something's going on like with Rick. Like obviously we know something's gonna carry over because he's dissecting like a mouse type of thing, and like Morty's coming over to talk to him and like ask him if he wants to go on an adventure or ask him if he wants to put him to school, like basically just trying to have a conversation with like Rick. But Rick is kind of not really treating Morty like he knows who he is. Like he's kind of saying Morty like in air quotes and all that type of stuff. Talking about like how if that's who you really are, Morty, and he's kind of not really paying attention to Morty, and like basically everything that Morty is saying to him, he's kind of taking it as if it's not really like real type of thing. Like he's not really taking it like it's a real life situation, and he's not really taking it seriously and all that type of stuff. And
but I do like when Morty like actually responds to him normally. Rick is like, "Oh wow, real clever this one."
Yeah. And yeah, which was kind of ended up kind of being a big thing at the end.
Well, it's interesting because I actually at the end of this episode I googled like how much did Rick know, based on the twist at the end of the episode. I'm like, so was Rick fooled was Rick fooled at any point, or did Rick like always know from the beginning and he was just like playing?
But yeah, so and then all of a sudden we see Beth walk over. And Beth is, her voice is very weird. It's very robotic, and she's just saying hello and all that type of stuff. So obviously this is kind of when we're meant to think like, okay, something clearly is going on here, because Beth isn't acting like Beth, and she's not even acting like a human at this point. It's like as if she's like in a simulation or something like that type of thing. So
I was going to say that she's robotic, but yes, when it does sound like she's in a simulation, you are correct. That is a very specific example. I wonder if that is exactly what's happening.
I know I probably shouldn't have gone to that specific example, but whatever. So, but I think this is kind of when
where are we? Some kind of Suicide Squad? Yeah, you haven't seen that movie. That's a line.
I know it's not good. So
no, well, it's genius because they're in a movie called The Suicide Squad, and he says, "What are we? Some kind of Suicide Squad?" And it's like, oh my god, he said the title of the movie. That's incredible.
But I do think, though, this is kind of when Rick picked up on something, because obviously he just heard Beth talk, and then he heard Morty talk like before that. There's like, something's to this type of thing.
Well, so, I like how he like picked his head up, like because he wasn't even like really looking at Morty. And then like Morty, like as he was walking away to go to school, like banged his head and like reacted like, ouch, like he reacted normally. Mm-hmm. So that caused Rick to like get interested.
Yeah.
So again, that's me wondering if that's him being like, "Oh shit, Morty's real," or if him picking up on that, like Morty's, like, like he's, we'll save it to the end.
Yeah. Yeah, since you did the Google, and I might let you talk about it because I didn't think I didn't have a chance to watch these episodes till like today. So it's kind of good that you're going to talk about that. Yeah, so Morty goes to school, and they kind of do a redo of like the first scene that we ever saw Morty at school, where Mr. Goldenfold is asking the class math questions and everything like that, and he asks Morty, "What's 5 times 9?" And then he's like, Morty says, "At least 40." And I had to think about this for a second. I'm like, because I haven't done math really in my head that much in a while.
Oh, did you really not know that? Oh my god. Keep talking.
No, I knew it, but I'm like, I forgot it's 5 times 540, it's 5 times 940. Like, I knew it was roughly in that range.
Neither of them are 40.
Well, I was like, I know it was in the 40 range, because it is in the 40 range, because 5 times 9 is... Huh?
No, it is not.
Yeah, isn't 5 times 9 like 45?
No, it's 54. 9, 18, 27. Hang on here.
I'm pretty sure it's 45 because
I'm dumb. So never mind. I was trying to be a jerk to you. I'm just a
wow. Actually,
9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54. Okay, 9 times 6 is 54.
Okay, yeah. I thought that's what I was gonna say. I'm like, yeah, because 5 times 10 is 50. So I'm like, it can't be 54. So, wow. So that. I do like this actually, because typically you do this to me sometimes, and it backfired on you this time. So
I think that bullet. I tried to shoot a bullet at you, and it fucking did a midair curve and shot me right in the fucking.
Yeah, It was, but yeah, Morty says that it's at least 40. He's kind of right. It is at least 40. It's just above 40.
Yeah, the teacher said, "That's right, Morty. It is at least 40."
And Morty's now the smartest kid in the whole class. He could just teach the class now. So, Mr. Goldenfold. We have some mascots here, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, Aspen's like, Aspen's like, I want to do math.
Yeah.
So let me talk about how what 9 times 40 is. 9 times 40, 9 times 5 is.
But yeah, so Morty's about to teach the class, and he doesn't really know what to teach them, and everybody in the class is asking for the formula for dark matter, which is kind of specific, obviously, because why is everyone in the class asking about this? Because it hasn't really been established that all of these people really know about like Rick's inventions and all that type of stuff. So obviously we know something's up here. If this was like maybe later in the season, we might not think anything of it, because then later on, a lot of people...
It becomes like a lot more normal. Like everyone kind of knows like what's up with like Rick and Morty.
Yeah. So, and doing this, you kind of see Rick come in like in the background. He's like watching through the window, and Summer. Not Summer. What's his name? Jessica. Morty's crush.
Really big if it were Summer. But later seasons will probably make it Summer.
Probably. But Jessica offers to be like Morty's girlfriend, and Rick comes in and interrupts all of this and says, "I have to pull Morty from class." And I do like this because this, obviously this has been established in episode 1 that Rick had a tendency to do this. So I do like that they kind of kept that continuity and everything like that. And Mr. Goldenfold threatens to give Morty an F, which would have been good, because the whole reason they did, episode 2 was so that way he'd get an A. So episode 2 would have been negated in the simulation world. Rick's like, he's fine with it. And I always kind of like this when they do this in shows. They'll try to make a threat, and the person they make the threat to, the other person pull them away. We're like, yeah, he's fine with it. But the other person's like, no, I'm not fine with this. Like, I didn't agree. I didn't sign up for this. So then Rick and Morty go into the gym locker room, and Rick just takes his clothes off randomly for no reason and tells Morty to take a shower with him. And And obviously,
I like how he actually started turning on the showers, because we find out they don't actually need to turn on the showers. They just gotta be naked.
yeah, pretty much. But he tells Morty to take a shower with him, and Morty is just like, he's obviously freaked out by this, and he doesn't really know what to make of this. So I'm pretty sure Rick has to force Morty to take his clothes off. Like, he has to physically undress him and everything like that.
But like during this like half the episode, I like how whenever because Rick and Morty are like naked for this part of the episode, they keep doing a joke where like they're like they'll show their ass, but like they're like crotch area, like it'll be like covered by the fence. But like as soon as like the wall's about to like end, it'll like cut up to their head.
Yeah. Which is a typical.
Like One Punch Man did this show when he was running around naked, and like whenever like the smoke cleared, like something would fall and like cover him or something. Like I think it's a funny joke.
I mean, that's a pretty That's a pretty common cartoon joke where they'll do things to not show their private areas and all that type of stuff. So, so eventually when they're both naked, Rick reveals that they're in a simulation. He doesn't go into specifics at this point, but he basically reveals that they're in a simulation, and it's a bunch of these scam artists that have been trying to scam him for years. He hasn't go into detail about what yet, but it's a bunch of scam artists that are trying to scam him out of like his inventions and all that type of stuff. But the only reason they have to get naked is because they're basically horrified and don't want to look at their penises and all that type of stuff, which becomes kind of a bad thing for Rick, because obviously there was a double agent, that went and
Right, I guess an oversight. I don't know about double agent.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, they actually set that up pretty early on, which I like. That like Kevin's like the weird guy in the group, and everyone kind of picks on him.
Right, but I kind of like how weird this got in the beginning. I like that Rick and Morty like didn't shy away from this. Like, this wasn't like a twist, because again, the twist was gonna come later. So I like that they kind of made it feel like something was going on.
I think it also makes sense that, like, again, Rick has been through this a few times. It makes sense he can, like, recognize his simulation. And I think it also just makes the episode funnier, like, how shitty the simulation is. Like, that's the whole B-plot with Jared. Yeah. Is that, like, he doesn't even notice how, like, everything around him is really cheap and shitty.
I originally put in... like everything outside the simulation, and then we were going to talk about, but I probably should just mention the simulation, because it's kind of tough not to talk about the Jerry plot without mentioning what the simulation is actually like. So I guess I'll just talk about that. So Rick later on in the episode explains that this isn't just a simulation, it's a shitty simulation. They didn't really put a lot of effort into this. They did go and get like the designers and stuff to make all the people look like people from Earth, and get like all their graphics and everything like that, except one. Somebody fucked up and kidnapped Jerry by accident. I don't know how that happens, but that happened. And pretty much they make a shitty simulation, and I really like that they really play around a lot with this, because at some points someone will be like dribbling a basketball and like they'll glitch out, or like someone will or they'll dribble the basketball, but then it will like go on the road, but they're still dribbling it, type of thing. Or it's like Tom and computer glitches, like video game glitches that you see, type of thing.
I mean, we saw earlier with Beth like how robotic she, and it just seemed like she was like going through the motions. Like, she was like, hello, I am your mother. I am going to work. Goodbye. Like, it's just like, a robotic of what Beth was doing without any actual, like, emotion behind it.
Yeah. And I like that they really have a lot of fun with this here. Like, Rick points out that, one of their neighbors was walking their cat, type of thing. It was all normal stuff. There was like, two hot dogs between a hot dog bun instead of the other way around. And then they go really crazy.
It's like, okay, it's weird but mundane. Yeah. Right? It's like, I don't think reality is like wrong because of it.
And then they go really crazy with this. I love this. It just shows like a Pop-Tart like coming out of like their house, and then they go into their toaster that's like a car. And I do love that when they mention how freaky this is, they don't even mention like that's just freaky on its own. Like, Morty was just like, I don't know why a Pop-Tart would be wanting to live inside a toaster, type of thing. That.
Yeah, obviously the joke is, Pop-Tarts aren't alive and they don't live in giant toasters. But like, obviously the characters are being like, why would if his house is a toaster, why would he drive a toaster? It's trying to make the joke because like the characters are pointing out like things that wouldn't even be the first question you would ask.
But to be fair,
like considering the twist at the end, it's kind of funny, because it's like, yeah, it makes sense why Morty would like realize it's wrong, but he wouldn't guess why it's wrong.
Yeah. And yeah, pretty much.
And then adds to the idea that Rick is just like playing along here, like he already knows what's up.
Yeah. So that's kind of what's going on in the simulation. It's done like really shitty. I will say this. I really like how they play around with the simulation and how it just glitches out at some points. It felt like the animators had a lot of fun with this type of thing. What did you kind of think of that type of thing? But yeah, which kind of leads us to.
Like as we said, Rick and Morty are naked right now because the aliens that have captured them are just like uncomfortable with nudity. It's not even like weakness for them; they're just like apparently very shy,
right?
And they're grossed out by it. So we see them in their like control room, and they're all grossed out by it. They don't really want to like spy on Rick because he's all naked. And they notice like, hey, a lot of our like computer power is like going to like another area of the simulation. And they spot Jerry in his car driving to his job. That's how you know it's a simulation that Jerry has a job,
Well, to be fair, not at this time because this was still early in the show. So,
Yeah. But, the aliens are like, who the hell is this guy? And they're like, oh, it's Rick's son-in-law. Like, I guess we just kidnapped him by accident. And even the guy's like, how do we accidentally kidnap another person?
I know, yeah.
And then the three different divisions are just basically all like pointing fingers at each other. Or as the next episode would say, why'd you even rope me into this? Because he roped me into this. Well, that one over there, he roped me into this.
I do like that they're just kind of treating this like a typical like 9-to-5 like corporate job in the place.
They treat it like an office job. Yeah.
And they do the corporate thing where they're trying to blame each other when something goes wrong type of thing. So
yeah. And then they all have that like one nerdy guy in the office they all pick on because it's like when they're like spying on Rick and Morty when they're naked, they're like, oh, hey, we'll have Kevin spying on him, and he's like, oh, why me?
Right.
Which again, it's funny how like we said with the toaster thing, it just comes off as like a one-off joke, but then when you watch the episode knowing the twist, it's kind of like a nice setup.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the thing I've liked about Rick and Morty and stuff so far is the jokes aren't just one-off jokes. They actually set something up like in the show type of thing. So
yeah, I like that. But yeah, they're like, okay, well, whatever. We'll just, Rick's our priority. We want to get information from him, and like you said, Rick's going to explain what they're after in a minute. But they're like, okay, we'll deal with Jerry later. Just, put his, like, settings at, like, 5%, because he's, like, taking up too much energy for the simulation.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much all the energy is going to Rick's, like, what Rick is doing. And Jerry is just, like the lowest possible settings. And he's not even noticing, like, how, like, just lazy everything around him is. And, like I said, it is like a video game. Because Rick even points out later that, like, they basically, like, everything is built around him as he's moving. Right? Like, basically, as you're walking down the road, like, the road in front of you is being built, like, it's, like, loading, like a video game would.
Yeah.
Like in a video game, not everything is loaded. It's just, like, the area you're in is loaded. And, like, as you move away from it, they'll, like, begin to load the new area.
Was that, like a behind-the-scenes type of joke, like a breaking the fourth wall with Jerry? Basically saying he's the B-plot, like, that his settings are down to 5%. Like, yeah, he's the B-plot.
I'm pretty sure it's, like, both. That, like, the joke, it's a meta joke that, like, he's the B-plot and, like, not paying attention to him.
Yeah.
And also, it's, the joke is that, like, Jerry's a dumbass and he doesn't notice, like, how lazy everything around him is.
Well, that comes later, too, so,
Right. But, yeah, basically, Jerry goes to his job. And he's basically pitching slogans for an Apple company, or like, he's pitching a slogan for a company. And he's obviously bombing the shit out of it. He's like choking up. He's like drinking water. He's like stuttering himself.
Mm-hmm.
But he basically comes up with the slogan that "Hungry for apples?" ?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "Good job." Wonderful. Thank you, Jerry. Wonderful.
Kind of
Well,
like,
it's like everyone like starts turning to each other to say thank you, you're welcome.
yeah.
And like one guy isn't even facing anybody, he's just like shaking the air.
Honestly, the monotone voices that they have here, it's kind of like Washington when he told, Caboose or Doc. Like, that was the worst flow of all time. Like, it's almost like worse than...
Yeah. We're just like so done with everything, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. It might be worse than Wash. Honestly, Wash would have fit really well, weirdly, in the simulation with that monotone. He could just been himself, type of thing.
Well, if you remember, the Reds and Blues were going through simulations back in Blood Gulch.
So, maybe they...
Yeah, so they'd be used to all this shit. Well, it's funny, they wouldn't even know, if they'd be in Jerry's shoes where they wouldn't notice anything's up.
Pretty much. Yeah. But yeah, I did like this, though. This was a pretty funny scene here. I will say this now, and then I'll just let you talk about all the Jerry stuff. What makes Jerry's things funny is because it's so half-assed, it's just, Jerry's just putting a lot, like, Jerry honestly is just putting so much into it. Like, he just keeps digging himself a hole bigger and bigger, type of thing.
Yeah, so, basically Jerry leaves the building and he, like, slides down the railing. He's, like, so super happy. And, like, he doesn't even notice, like, all the people, like, there's, like, 3 people on the sidewalk who, like, say something to him. And it's just, like, just, like, stock catchphrases. The guy's just like, you're the man! And, like, 2 minutes later, Jerry passes by the same mailman.
Right.
And he says the exact same thing. And, there's, like, a woman and, like, an old guy. And, like, one of them, like, says something that's not even, like, related. I forget exactly what he says. But he says like his catchphrase isn't even related to like what's going on with Jerry.
I like to think the people that did this simulation are the same people that put that like same fisherman background guy like into the Ben 10 universe anytime they showed him type of thing. Like
oh yeah, it's funny because you're not even there yet, and I told you like oh yeah, Captain Shaw just like in the background.
So I like to think, can we just have that canon that they're just doing the Ben 10 background characters too type of thing.
Well, it's funny, when they actually do an episode later in Ben 10 that is like the same plot as this, where Ben gets put in like a simulation.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
A shitty one or a good one?
Well, it's like with Jerry's, where it's like supposed to be like his best day ever.
Okay.
But like similar thing where it's like weird, like there'll be like people in the background like intentionally that like shouldn't be there.
Right.
So like in a way, yeah, it is kind of like a shitty simulation. So that'll be fun when we get to that.
But yeah, let's continue with Jerry's best day ever.
Right. Yeah, so Jerry calls Beth, and I like how you see the other line where it's like it's all loading in. Like again, like Beth's house like is not loaded in. They have to like load the phone, then load her.
That was awesome. Yeah.
And then Jerry calls Beth, and he's like, trying to make dirty talk to her, but it's like cringy as shit. And then, when she's like monotonely like, yes, he's like, wow, really? All right, awesome. I'll be there and we'll, do the thing.
Do the thing.
Yeah. And then it's so sad when he gets there and he just like starts making out like with her and she's like still just standing at the phone. And he even says like, he's not even kissing like her mouth. He's like kissing like her hair.
Yeah.
And he says, like, oh, yeah, just keep standing there. Like, he finds it hot that she's just, like, not responding to him.
I'm pretty sure...
But I think it's, like, supposed to be, like, the joke, is that, like, he, like, doesn't notice that she's not into it.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure at this point, too, like, what would be funny about this is, like, Jerry would just be so oblivious that, like, things are glitching around him. Like, there's a tree that glitches around him. I'm pretty sure that same mailman, like, walks on the street, and he glitches out, like, walking on the street type of thing. So...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that mailman, like, ends up going through a tree. Yeah. Oh, and, like, as Jerry's driving home... All right, thank you, Dingo. Like, the girl on, like, the sidewalk playing with her ball... Like, the ball, like, glitches and, like, goes into the road and then goes back into her hand.
Yeah, it's so
And
awesome.
Jerry drove right past it. Jerry was a man on a mission, so he was not paying attention.
Yeah. Honestly, his car could have...
Aspen is just, like, in her own world. She's just, like, standing in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Like, no thoughts. Just like, hi, I'm here.
Also, I feel like Jerry's car would have glitched out while he was driving it, and he wouldn't have even noticed. That's how much.
I know, right? That would be so funny. They should have done that, where like, yeah, Jerry like crashes into something and like glitches out, and he doesn't even notice.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's continue with Jerry's plot, though.
Yeah, but yeah, like I said, it comes back to Jerry, presumably 5 seconds later, after him and Beth finish. And again, I like how Beth is just still there, like her arm is still like outstretched, like she's holding the phone.
Yeah.
And for Jerry, he's like, "Oh my god, wow!" And probably she's still wearing like her clothes.
Yeah.
But Jerry's like, "That was the hottest thing of my life."
And there's something that happens in the A plot, that you know, because Beth was frozen like while they were having sex, so you know, that's what makes it even like funnier, because everything like froze in the simulation like while this was happening. So this was pretty funny.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. That's why. Yeah, that okay. Because I thought it was only frozen for like Rick's area. I didn't know it was frozen for Jerry's.
I think it was because they make it that they point that out because Beth is just like frozen and like in the same position, type of thing. So
yeah, but then Jerry like Jerry's like, "I don't deserve this. I have a deep dark secret, and I have to go into work and come clean." And yeah, he goes in and he's like, "Boss, I must tell you my dark that okay, his dark secret is my dogs, and shut the fuck up."
I feel bad for you for this video. I was just saying, I feel bad for you this video because the dogs are just gonna mess it up for you. So
yeah, it sucks too. The reason why I'm here is because the internet's down on my place.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, so yeah, yeah. So Jerry's, but hungry for apples was his catchphrase, and obviously that's like super, like just boring. It's like, what do you do with apples? You eat them. You're hungry. You eat
right.
an apple. You're
yeah.
hungry. And he's like, it's actually a ripoff of Got Milk.
Yep.
And I'm like, he's like, I deserve to be fired. And his boss just like keeps responding, yes, to everything he says.
Yeah.
So like you said, it's Jerry in a hole. So Jerry like starts crying at like he thinks he's been fired, but then he gets defensive. He's like, you know what? No, it's not a ripoff of Got Milk. They don't even share any of the same words. And the guy's just like, yes. He's like, oh, awesome. Cool, so I'm not fired? Yes. I deserve a promotion? Yes. He's like, you know what? If there was an award for apples, I should at least get nominated. And the guy's like, yes. And Jerry's like, oh, cool. Is there like an award for that? Awesome.
Honestly,
it's literally the award for like, not even like best commercials ever. It's like best Apple themed commercials.
I love that the aliens actually bothered to make an award for him.
I was gonna say, I'm surprised that the aliens actually bothered to like set up an award. You know, I like to think Kevin's just like watching Jerry on the side, and he's like, you know what, Jerry, I'm gonna bump it up from 5% to 70%.
Right? Yeah.
And Jerry's giving this heartfelt speech. I like how he's even like, this has been the best day ever. Like Jerry in his mind has pitched this slogan. Went home, got back to the office, confronted his boss, and like has gone to this award ceremony all in like one afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then Jerry's like getting super emotional about this award. He's even like, I didn't even know this award existed, but this has been like the best day of my life.
Right.
And then of course Rick's plot catches up, and then the award ceremony gets deleted, and Jerry's perfect day is ruined.
And like I think everything, not just like this, I think his clothes he was wearing too got deleted because he was in his underwear like after this type of thing too.
Yeah, like this video is wearing gets deleted. Yeah. Well, it's also like the mailman again going, "You the man!" Like in the middle of Jerry's speech, the guy screams, "You the man!" and Jerry's like, "Yes, thank you."
Right.
And it's like, Jerry, come on, really? The same mailman from earlier?
Also, I forget. This is what makes him realize it too. Like a bunch of the mailmen like appear like of the same guy like all around the.
Simulation gets shut down. It's like everyone starts glitching out, and then Jerry notices like, "What's up?"
Yeah. So poor Jerry. Sometimes I guess like because this was kind of before he became like pathetic and everything like that. So you don't really.
I mentioned in the previous episode, in episode 1, that like Jerry wasn't really set up as pathetic yet. He was just kind of like the everyman. And I think this episode is like the one setting up that Jerry's like dumb and pathetic.
Yeah. So,
But fine. I think it's only bad when they like take it to like an extreme and like they just dunk on him for no reason.
right.
I think this is a good one where it's like this is kind of just Jerry's own fault, you know. Like he just, like you say, kind of just kept digging his own hole through this whole episode.
Yeah, because honestly, Jerry could have just like chilled, but the more he talked, the worse it got for him. Type of thing.
Again, like everyone just is responding yes to him. Like that's pretty much it. Beth just kept saying yes. His boss kept saying yes. Like everyone's just saying yes to everything he does. Like it is him making everything a bigger deal than it is.
Yeah, so that was great. But doing all of this, you're probably wondering what the heck. Let's get to the the 100% storyline. The actual good simulation. I guess.
Well, would it technically be 95%?
Oh yeah, true. Because
Yeah, I got you on that one. I might have fucked up the 45 one, but I got that one.
I'm never gonna let you live down the 45 one too, because that's like a big one for me.
I won't let myself live it down. Again, I shot a bull at you, and the bull just fucking looped around and shot me right in the head.
But yeah, so Rick and Morty, they're outside now, this is kind of when Rick's starting to point out and explain like what the simulation is and everything like that. And Morty's kind of wondering like, why do they keep scamming you? Like, what do they want from you, type of thing. And I do like this because this shows that Morty doesn't really like pay attention to, because obviously the whole thing is he got asked about the dark matter, like stuff. But and I like that Rick points this out. And Rick points out that they want his dark matter formula and everything like that. Do they ever say like specifically what they want the dark matter formula for, or do they?
Yeah, and so Rick says that like the dark matter formula is like how he does like really fast space travel. Like it's the fastest form of space travel.
Oh, that's right.
Which is interesting because I feel like later seasons kind of forget about that. Like it becomes all about like the portal formula.
Yeah. So
I kind of like that it wasn't about that. It was about like Rick's spaceship and how he can like, rather than traveling between universes, it's like him getting to like different planets from point A to point B really fast.
And Rick mentions too, like these guys keep trying to do this, and he typically is always one step ahead. Not even one step ahead of him, like 2 steps ahead of him every time. So Rick says this is just like Rick treats this like this is kind of like that annoying kid that tries to always play a trick on you, but he's always one step ahead of him, type of thing. And Rick has a plan for this.
Well, I like that Rick says like they made one big mistake this time as they dragged you into it, Morty. Which again, I like that. Like it has a double meaning if like Rick is like aware of what's happening with Morty.
Yeah, but yeah. So Rick decides to host a concert at the park randomly because he can do that. Yeah. It is a simulation after all. He can do whatever he wants.
I was gonna say if Gary can get like an Apple commercial award show, Rick can get a concert.
So he stages as if the lyrics in the song are going to be the formula to the dark matter formula, and this causes like everybody in the simulation to like run over and like have a good time. This is kind of when everything starts to get messed up. The whole simulation starts glitching out, and Rick revealed that he did this because when the simulation glitches out like this, there's typically like an edge where they can just run off the simulation.
So again, to make the video game comparison, it's kind of just like trying to load in a bunch of stuff at once in the video game, and like it's just too much. The game can't handle it, so it crashes or glitches out.
Yeah, which is what happens.
Which it's like there were only a couple people at the concert, so Rick was like, "Oh no, if we're gonna give the dark matter formula, we gotta have more people." And like everyone in the red shirt has to jump, and everyone whose name begins with a B has to do a circle. Like it's making a bunch of things. Like it's basically like stressing out the computer so much where it crashes.
Yeah. And yeah, I know I put escape attempt me. I meant to actually put that for you. I forgot. So you're actually talking about the escape attempt.
Okay, great. So basically, as I said earlier, okay, thank you, both of you.
These dogs do not give up. They like.
I know they're up my ass. Much like those crystals were, those seeds were in episode 1, up Morty's ass.
Yeah.
Bringing it back around to Rick and Morty. yeah, Rick and Morty start booking it once they realize, everyone at the concert is crashed and like frozen. And like I said earlier, like a video game where like you're running, like they'll like load in the new area as they're moving towards it. But because the system's crashed, they can't load in any more areas. So they get to like the edge of the simulation, which is like the end of the town, and then like they can just jump off the platform like into like what seems to be the alien ship.
Mm-hmm.
So Rick and Morty get out of the simulation, and again, I like if Rick knows what's going on, like he already knew what was up with this like alien ship.
Yeah.
Because Morty gets off of them as well, and they start running, and the aliens, cutting back to them, go, "Yes, perfect. This is exactly what we wanted." For Rick to leave the simulation. So they're basically like running through the ship. They go to like a room. With like a bunch of like they're similar to the seeds where it's like a bunch of like crystals,
Yeah.
like computer chip crystals, and Rick's just like, all right, Morty, get as many as you can, and we're gonna like steal them and leave. The impression seems to be like, okay, Rick's gonna just like steal a bunch of shit from the ship and like go back home, kind of like get back at them for kidnapping him.
I do like, by the way, doing all this, taking time to like dick around and like throw the crystals and everything like that type of thing.
It's a really sweet scene where like Morty drops one and breaks it. He's like, "Oh, sorry, Rick," and he's like, "Don't worry, there's plenty. We can horse around a bit." And him and Morty kind of like roughhouse a little bit. He's like,
Yeah, it was sweet.
That was a really sweet scene. Like I said, I thought that was in episode 1 when they were collecting the seeds. I'm a little sad that this actually wasn't real.
I know, yeah. That makes me question though. It was maybe Rick knew.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like this is kind of how like Rick is only being this nice because he knows like it's not real.
Yeah.
Like he wants to be this nice to Morty, but like he feels like he can't.
Right. So maybe there's something.
Like in like the later seasons when we have like toxic Rick, like they kind of imply that where it's like the toxic parts of Rick are the parts that love Morty.
Yep.
Yeah, but they worked out a little bit. It was a really sweet scene. But yeah, they ended up getting a ship and rocketing off, and Morty even points out like, "Wow, that was really easy."
Yeah,
but then they get back to the garage, and Rick's gonna open up the safe. But he enters the combination wrong like twice, and he's like, "Oh, that's weird." And then everything around him starts to like melt.
So this starts my stuff. Twisting up the twists. A lot of twists are about to come up because again, this is a big shot to them taking a bunch of shots at M. Night Shyamalan because every movie of his has a twist. Even M. Night Shyamalan. Even The Last Airbender, because the twist is that the movie sucked. So
the twist was it should have been a great movie and it was ass.
So everything in the we find out that this was actually a simulation. When they got off the ship and stuff, that wasn't real. Not even the crystals were real, which that was kind of disappointing. They weren't even real. So.
I was kind of curious why I even added that in.
Huh?
I was kind of wondering. I'm like, why even add that in? It was like a very small thing. Like I'm kind of surprised they even added that in.
Maybe just to make so they could think Rick was double getting them type of thing. So I guess.
Rick like getting back at them, and then I guess.
And Rick is actually still in the simulation, and all the aliens come out and start laughing at him, and they actually like reveal to him like that they actually have like the dark matter formula, but they have another good thing, and that's Rick, the combination of Rick's safe and other like top secret stuff that he has, which I kind of like because that kind of was like that was kind of foreshadowing about the portal gun stuff, I guess, and everything like that. So that was kind of cool.
That was actually that would have been a really good twist. Like this ends up not being the case, but it actually would have been a really good twist if Rick thinks like they're after the dark matter formula, but they actually have that all figured out already, and they're after something else.
Yeah. Rick even points out though, yeah, but I could just beat you guys home and just change the combination, which I actually like that they're that shitty. They didn't think that Rick could just go change the combination, but and just beat them home. So they kind of get into like a little bit of a battle here. They do a funny scene, which I kind of like that they set this joke up, where the guy has like a doctor's appointment coming up because he has like lumps on his ass or something like that. And I do like this because obviously they kind of. I mean, it doesn't mean anything, but this joke's funny because they bring this joke back, like, again, type of thing. So, but yeah, so they get into a big chase with the aliens and everything like that. And this is kind of when Jerry, his simulation ends and everything like that. And they're running away. Eventually, they're able to get onto a ship. And I like this because Jerry's just in distraught, like... I like that he kind of immediately knows what's going on, so he's like able to kind of get into the moment and run away from these aliens. But once he gets on the ship, that's when he gets all distraught and everything like that. So I did like that.
Well, I like how Rick, like when the plots intersect, Rick is just like confused for a second, but he just kind of goes with it. He's like, Jerry, what are you doing here? You don't want to forget it. Let's go.
Yeah. And yeah, so they start.
Well, I like how he said, Rick, Jerry was having like the most important day of his life. He was all dressed nicely for an award. And then because he's still in a suit, Rick is just like, why are you dressed as a butler?
Yeah, that was funny. So, they start flying away in the ship. And, all the aliens start chasing after him and everything like that. And, Rick, Morty even points out, well, Rick, don't you know the dark matter form? Like, can't you, use that on them type of thing? Which was a bit, that was kind of like the last hints that, like, makes us see the twist kind of coming once the twist happens.
I like, they're going to point out that Rick is kind of aware. Because Rick is like, okay, we need, like, this, and this. And Morty goes into the back and finds it. He's like, oh, it's all here, Rick. And Rick's like, oh, wow, that's convenient.
Yeah. So, he pours all these ingredients into a trash barrel. Well, not all of it exactly. When it's time for Morty to pour the water in, he starts glitching out, and it's revealed that it's actually, Morty's part of the simulation. Like, Rick's again in a simulation, but Morty's also, like, a simulation also type of thing. And, obviously, Rick gets upset about this, and everything starts shutting down, and all the aliens come out again and just start laughing. And when I said they were laughing before, they were laughing, but this time they like can't control themselves. They're like really happy they like really got Rick at this time, type of thing.
Yeah.
And they revealed to Rick that they actually never got the dark matter formula. They obviously lied to him so that way they could get it. And it's revealed, which was set up earlier, that one of the aliens, was his name Steven? I forget what his name was, but Kevin. Likes looking at guys' penises and everything like that. So he made it so that way Morty would have a penis in the simulation, so that way they could like watch him. I guess they would,
right?
Yeah, type of thing. Obviously, Rick gets upset about this, but he's being held back by, like, other aliens and everything like that. And all the aliens are laughing at him. They're, like, finally happy they were able to skim Rick and everything like that. And, so then... I do like this because they take, like, a selfie with him and everything like that. And then the guys are like, oh, he's still I wonder if he's even in a simulation. Like, it was really funny. So they, like, basically send them home pretty much because, like, they got everything that they needed out of Rick and everything like that. And, like, the guy's assistant comes over and asks, like, because then, the main guy mentions that, he actually doesn't have any butt lumps type of thing. He that was all part of the simulation. So then the assistant's like, oh, so do you want me to cancel that appointment? And then he screams so that, so Rick and Morty can hear them, yes, cancel that appointment. And then he screams under like the breath, whispers like, no, actually keep it. Why don't you move it up actually? So like he actually did have like...
Yeah, he does actually have like butt issues, yeah. But Jerry and Rick are leaving. I kind of like how these guys just like give Rick a shit to leave. Like, once they got what they wanted from Rick, they're like, all right, you can go home now.
Yeah. Which ends up kind of being the undoing, I guess. So.
Yeah. I like the detail that like now that they're like actually back, like that was kind of hint that they were in a second simulation. Was like when Jerry left the award, like he was still in his like fake clothes.
Yeah.
But then like once they left the second one, like then he was like in his underwear.
Yeah. But I'm like you're
Yeah,
talking.
they were leaving, and Rick was kind of giving Jerry shit. He's like, "Oh, hey Jerry, so what? Your best day ever was a result of a very, very low effort simulation. Who cares?" And Jerry was like, "Hey Rick, you got fooled too. You know, how does it feel to be dumb like everybody else?"
Mm-hmm.
And an explosion goes off in the background, and Rick's like, "Huh? I guess they're stupid too." You know, or like he makes a comment at Jerry.
Yeah.
And then because what happened was the aliens were all celebrating, like, "Woohoo! We beat Rick. We got the dark matter formula." And the guy, like again, like you said, it's like an office, like a 9-to-5 job. The boss is like giving a speech to everybody, like, "Oh, you know, I just want to thank you guys. I love you all. You're all like family. Now let's make this dark matter." And they make the dark matter, and all blow, and the whole shit blows up. So
Right.
basically, implying that Rick knew everything, and that he gave like Morty like instead of the dark matter formula, like, gave him like an explosive like formula.
Yeah.
So again, that begs the question of like, when did Rick find out, or did he know the whole time? I think he like questioned at the beginning, like when he in the garage, when he like kind of picked his head up and looked at Morty,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, "Oh, Morty's like acting normal." But I think that was him kind of piecing together that like their idea was that like they're gonna make Rick think Morty is the only other real person in this simulation, so he would trust Morty.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the idea. The joke around it too is it could be Rick watches a lot, you know, because this is called M. Night Shyamalan. Rick watches a lot of M. Night Shyamalan movies, so always expect a twist in the M. Night Shyamalan film franchise. You just don't know when it's going to happen, so just always assume something's a twist type of thing.
Right. No, of course, I'm just saying that like I think that was like the alien's plan was to like fool him to thinking Morty was real, but he was in a simulation.
Yeah.
And but like Rick even knew that from the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. I think he did question.
I saw because I googled it to like see what people's thoughts were, and some people were thinking that like Rick was fooled at first, but he figured it out like halfway through.
Yeah.
But, like, no, I'm pretty sure he knew like from the beginning.
Yeah, I would say so too. He probably just went along with their plan. And I do like when you come back, watch it back. You kind of pick up on it too, just because a lot of the questions that Morty asks are about the dark matter, or like questioning what Rick's doing and everything like that. And it's not like the typical Morty being curious. It's like more so like him pressing him for like information type of curious sometimes type of thing. So
Yeah.
I do kind of like that you kind of pick up on it when you kind of come back and like watch it and everything like that.
But then we do get one little we get like two little after credit scenes with Jerry and Rick now back in reality. Jerry gives the same speech that he, to like his bosses that he did in the simulation, but they're just immediately like, "You're fired," like it sucks. But Jerry's like, "What? But I got ran in like a state-of-the-art simulation," and this boss just like, "Well, that simulation sucks then."
Which it did, so he was
and
right.
Jerry just like sadly leaves, and the guy's just like, "How does that guy go home and like make love to his wife? Like he's just so sad."
And I like that it was the same guy. It was the same guy in the simulation too, type of thing, which made it better. So
yeah. And then Rick like is drunk and he goes into Morty's room, similar to how he did in the first episode. And like he's being all nice to Morty, like, "Oh Morty, you're my buddy," and then he just like pulls a knife and he's like, "Are you real? Are you real?"
Yeah.
Kind of showing that like now that Rick's like drunk, he's questioning if he's in a simulation or not.
Yeah. I wish they continued this like throughout the show, where Rick never knew if he was in a simulation or not. He always questioned it, type of thing.
Yeah, I like this episode. I think it's kind of a little too similar to episode 2, with the Inception thing. And I think that one did it better.
Yeah.
Honestly, I like Jerry's plot the most. It was just funny. Like, it was the same joke, but it was, like, consistent, and they just, it didn't overstay its welcome at the same time, though. And it was just funny to see Jerry. Again, it's not everybody picking on Jerry, it's just Jerry digging his own hole, essentially.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the Rick and Morty joke where it feels like the first half is just like, okay, they're naked. that's the joke.
Right.
And then the second half, I think, got a bit better when they have the concert, and then they like run, and then like it's revealed it's in they're in a triple simulation. The endings are pretty funny, like you said. It's kind of funny they're just like in a 9-to-5 job. So I think the way we did it was like the previous one was like a B or B plus. I think, and for Dragon Ball, I think we gave that one like a B minus. Like it was a little worse than the other Rick and Morty episodes. I think this one's about the same as Oolong the Terrible, like a B minus, maybe like a C plus. Again, I liked it, but again, just like I think it's only 2 episodes away from like I think a episode that does the same premise better. You know?
Yeah. I agree with you. I'll give it a B minus. What makes it a B minus too? I probably like it a little bit better than you, just because I like how off the wall they go with like the simulation and just seeing the simulation like crash and everything like that kind of thing.
Yeah, that was fun. In hindsight, I'm going back. I feel like there wasn't that many hints that Morty wasn't real. I feel like I would have liked it more if they gave him a couple more hints. Like you said, it's like Morty kind of presses Rick a bit more, and like the toaster thing, where like Morty's like not guessing the correct thing with like what's wrong with the toaster. But I feel like a couple little more hints would have been nice.
Yeah.
It's funny because like an episode in the newest season does this exact same thing, but in reverse, where like the twist is that like Rick isn't real.
Yeah.
But I feel like that episode did that better.
Yeah. But yeah, I would have liked if they gave a couple more hints and everything like that. I think the Jerry plot is really what carries this episode, and it's not very long type of thing. But
it's funny. Yeah, like a very short B plot is like the best part of the episode. Yeah.
But yeah, let's go through the next episode though. The next episode is called. This is the episode that I mentioned that because the M Night Aliens. And again, too, so this episode came out in 2014, Them My Aliens. I talked about with AJ off camera, now I can actually tell him this. This is kind of before, like, that episode was very relevant for its time, too, because this is kind of before M. Night Shyamalan starts kind of bouncing back and starts making, like, good films again and everything like that. Like Split, depending on how you feel about, The Visit, the twist there, and then obviously Glass. But
is The Visit the one where they go to like to visit their grandparents?
Yeah, and then there's a big twist at the
No,
end.
I saw that one. I kind of thought, at least I didn't like it.
I thought it was okay. So I didn't think it was great. I don't know.
Maybe we'll do it one day.
Yeah. Also, it's been a while since I've seen it. But yeah, this is kind of before, though. This is when, like, M. Night Shyamalan was making a ton of shit movies. And it's relevant to point out because all of his movies have twists. So it's very relevant for its... This episode was very relevant for its time, too, which is a good thing. So, but let's go to the next episode. Season 1, Episode 5. This episode is called Meeseeks and Destroy. Do you want to guess when this episode came out?
Okay, so the last one was, I think, the 13th of December. I'm going to guess this one is, in that case, the 20th of December, 2014.
December, you said?
Oh, sorry, January.
There you go. I kind of had to help you there because you said January before, so I'm like, I'm gonna help you there. I will give it to you because because you got there. And yeah,
which is funny. That means it's been almost 11 years since this episode came out.
Yep. Which is pretty cool. I don't even, well, maybe it's even a thing, really.
It's so weird to think Rick and Morty's that old.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's really even a thing then, because I feel like they weren't really a popular until 2017. Like, were memes kind of a thing then, or were they...
Memes? I mean, memes have always been a thing, but yeah, like, I guess, like... Yeah, I don't know.
Because I didn't really, I mean, I don't pay attention sometimes to pop culture, but I didn't physically hear about memes until, like, 2017.
Well, like, the Mr. Meeseeks thing, I feel like that didn't become a meme right away. Like, it probably did take a couple years.
Yeah, so...
But memes were definitely a thing back then.
But yeah, let's go over it. This was directed by Brian Newton, and it was written by Ryan Ridley. I think we've talked about them before. But yeah, let's talk about this episode. You're talking about the whole. I've been talking a while. You're talking about the whole Rick and Morty plot.
Yeah, which I think that works better than in the last episode because that was more interconnected. Like we had to explain like the the simulation stuff before we got to Jerry's plot.
And as you can tell, I didn't really realize that when I was waking up my notes for it.
This one's pretty disconnected. Aside from like the very beginning that sets it up. So basically, cold open to Rick and Morty are on like another adventure. They're like in a like poor space area. They're basically in Dead Space. I don't know if you played that video game, Owen.
My video game knowledge is pretty low in the 2010s. So,
Yeah.
I would have liked it if we actually got to see this episode, but it probably would have been too soon after.
Yeah. We'll probably get to that in other episodes. Like not even just of this show, of like Ben 10 and stuff. Where like they'll do a cold open, and I'm like, honestly, I kind of wish they gave the cold open a whole episode rather than like the main plot of the actual episode.
I'm pretty sure they do that in like Danny a few times, where the villain he fights is like better than the villain that he actually fights in the episode.
I feel like Danny didn't really do that too often, but maybe it's been a while.
Yeah, so. Like I remember the episode we meet Johnny 13. Some of the villains that he fights before he fights Johnny 13 are like much better than Johnny 13. So
yeah, true. I think after I didn't really do too many cold opens.
Right.
Trying to think of other things. Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. We can make that a video. What cold opens should have been actual episodes.
Right.
But yeah. I like how Rick is like getting it. So Rick and Morty are getting attacked by copies of like Summer, Beth, and Jerry, the family, and Rick's giving them like an overcomplicated like explanation on like what they are. They're like demon and imposters from like another dimension that are also aliens.
Yeah.
I
can understand why they didn't make this an episode though, because it would have been too soon, like way too soon, because you just did a computer simulation like the last one, and then you would have done like the Inception thing. So I can understand why this was just a code open.
Like this. So what happens is Rick's like, Morty, you gotta help me like fight off these, and Morty's like, I can't. I know they're not real, but they look like my family, and which is really fucked up because of what happens next episode.
Yep.
Where with like the fake Smiths. So in a weird way, this is kind of really good setup for that.
Yeah. I wonder if they had that planned when they made this episode, type of thing, or if this episode just came out before it and it just worked out that way.
Yeah. But I like how Beth goes up to Morty and like starts talking in a really sweet voice. And it's kind of funny how these like demon alien parasite things from another dimension are more accurate to like the Smiths than like the simulation by the aliens.
I know, yeah.
But basically, like Morty's not fighting them, but he's kind of just like dodging them and getting out of the way, and he plugs in like the chip that Rick gave him into like the thing he wanted him to, and that causes the fake Smiths to like melt, and Rick gets the thing he wants, and they kind of just leave. And Morty's just like, all right, these adventures suck. I'm sick of doing these like weird, like trippy mindfuck adventures. Let's do something I want to do for a change. And I like this because this plot ends up like coming back a few times in the future.
I was shocked, like even when I watched the show at the time, that they were going to do a plot. Because, a show will do a plot like this every once in a while, but they'll usually will do like a lot of episodes where it's actually the mainstay. So I was shocked episode 5 will already kind of, like Morty's already calling them out for it. But I think what helped this is like Rick and Morty have been doing a lot of adventures off screen, so it feels.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably why. Because I was gonna say it's probably too soon to like have this kind of disagreement where Morty's like, "No, I'm kind of sick of adventures." But like you said, this has been happening for like a lot. They go on a lot of adventures.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still I kind of would have liked if this was like a season 2 kind of thing.
Well, like maybe after season, maybe after the potion episode or something, because that would have validated it too. type of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Well, Morty, that gives a really good reason for Morty to be like, all right, I really want to go on these adventures.
Yeah.
Um, Actually, that would have been a really good thing because it were Morty like a big reason why Morty doesn't want to hurt the fake versions of his family
Yes, exactly.
because he was already living. He'd already be living with fake versions of his family. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dingo is so involved in Rick and Morty. She's like, I love Rick and Morty.
Oh, yeah, these dogs are gonna be our mascot this week, I think.
Yeah, it's funny because last video we did a whole episode on dogs.
Yeah, the last Rick and Morty video. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but which hurts a bit in hindsight because I actually just lost Lucy 2 weeks ago. Yeah, so kind of fitting in a weird way how we made a whole video on like how dogs and humans. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rick and Morty are kind of arguing, and they basically end up making a bet that Morty's going to pick an adventure, and if it's a good adventure, then from now on, Morty can like pick one in every 10 adventures that they do.
Right.
But if Morty loses and they like bail on the adventure halfway through, then like from now on, Morty can't like complain on adventures, basically.
Yeah, I did like that they made this a bet, and I like to like doing the whole adventure. It's kind of like a sitcom, like bet, like you would see in like a teenage like TV show.
Well, I like how Morty kind of eggs Rick on a bit. Yeah, because I like when Morty kind of gives to Rick as much as like Rick shits on him.
Yeah.
You know, like everyone else in the family comes to like ask Rick questions, and Rick is like, "All right, okay, Morty, you got to do this some other time. I got like shit to do." And Morty's like, "What? Are you chicken? Blah blah."
Yeah, I liked that.
Okay, yeah. I thought you were gonna explain the this part because this is technically your plot.
I was gonna save that until we actually did it. Just do it all together.
Okay. So Rick, to tie into the B plot, is since Rick is gonna be busy with Morty and he can't help the family, he gives the family a Meeseeks box, which you'll get into.
Yeah.
But then just bucks off Morty, and they go into like a pretty standard like fantasy town, like you would see in like a fantasy movie or a video game. Very old, like medieval Europe inspired, and Rick is already just like pissed off, like he doesn't want to be here. I will say it's a little annoying with Rick.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, Morty even points it out later in the episode that like he's like, "Come on, Rick, like I go along with all your bullshit, and like I won't complain for a lot of it, but like you go on this adventure with me, and all you do is complain from the get go."
I think he makes up.
I feel like I would have liked that if Morty pointed it out earlier, because I feel like it overstates its welcome a little too much. That like Rick from the get go, it's just like all he does is complain about it.
Yeah, I feel like he does get a little much. It's like, dude, this guy like he's basically losing sleep and failing in school to help you out, and you can't even like show a little interest. I mean, this dude's.
I feel like a better solution would have been like either A, have Morty call him out on that like earlier. Because Morty doesn't even do it till like pretty much the end of the A plot.
Yeah.
Or like Rick isn't happy about it, but he's kind of just like going along with it. But then like when they get involved in like the murder trial, then he's kind of like sick of it. He's like, "Okay, Morty, I'm sick of this. Let's go."
Yeah, I feel like this overstays its welcome.
Yeah, because it's like the entire plot essentially. But yeah, they end up, and I think it also ties into as we find out like later seasons, Rick just like is not a fan of like fantasy and like magic stuff.
Yeah, time travel.
So maybe that's another reason why he's like doesn't want to be here. Is like he likes like space and sci-fi shit.
Right.
So he's like they're like doing like a fantasy like adventure.
Yeah, because so at least they keep this. This ends up tying in a lot, because obviously anytime they do like a fantasy adventure, Rick's never really either in the plot at all or he's just not into it type of thing.
Right, but I feel like they should have set that up in this episode, because like in this episode you're just kind of left we have no reason to assume Rick like doesn't like fantasy stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
So I feel like they should have set that up earlier, and that's why Rick is like so pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Rick is, like, all right, this place sucks, and Morty's like, okay, you know what, we're gonna like have an adventure. I like how much fun Morty's having with this.
Yeah.
And I think this episode really does establish Morty is 14. Like, he's very like happy-go-lucky with it. He kind of just like wants to have fun with it.
Yeah.
Like, he gets on a box in the middle of the town square, and he's like, "Hello, we are hero adventurers, and we are here to, save you or do a task for you. What would you like us to do?" Like, he's trying to make himself seem like a big hero to everybody. Again, it feels like very much something like a kid would do.
Yeah, definitely. I like that.
And this like poor person is like, "Oh, hey, we're really poor, but there's like a big beanstalk over there. You could like climb up, and like get some riches for us and like help us like make the town rich."
I think this plot was very Jack and the Beanstalk
well,
inspired.
yeah, that's obviously the inspiration, the Jack and the Beanstalk.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I like that they did a plot like this in the beginning, because usually these plots can become tedious sometimes. Like, the big hero comes in and saves the village. So and I guess what is a good thing about it is Rick not being into it helps a little bit, because obviously it's the status quo type of thing. So like,
yeah, it's like very like bog standard. Like, it's like it's like what you would expect from like a generic fantasy setting.
So I think that's the whole point is Morty kind of picked like a generic setting for like his first adventure type of thing. So
yeah.
Um,
yeah, they end up climbing the beanstalk and going to a giant's house. And the giant's seems like a Neanderthal. Like, he's dressed like a giant. Like with like tattered clothing, and he's kind of ugly and like mangled hair. And he's like, P5 Fofum, like, do I smell tiny people here? But then he just like trips and bashes his head and dies.
Yeah.
And then and then like his wife and child come in, and they're like, oh, and they're all dressed normal, and they're all speaking normal. And they end up doing the joke ends up being that, like, instead of like dumb giants like you would expect to see in like fantasy stuff, they're all just they have like a normal society.
I thought this was good. This reminded me a lot of like the Freddy Krueger ripoff thing, where like
yeah, where he like goes to school for like scaring, like it's like a normal school basically.
And they're all like, because I don't think you knew like in the Freddy Krueger movies, like there's not a whole society that's him type of thing.
I kind of figured like that was like the joke is like it's like a monster, but they made it like, well, that's like Monsters Inc. That's the whole point of Monsters Inc.
Yeah,
it's like they're monsters who scare kids, but it's like a 9-to-5 job for them.
Right.
And they have like a whole society.
So that was so I do kind of I like that Rick and Morty expands with that a lot, where like the thing that we think is scary and stuff has like they have like a whole society type of thing. So
and it's like very similar to our society. Well, like the Citadel, they have one episode like about that where it's all just copies of Rick and Morty, but like they all have their own society basically.
Yeah,
like and it works similar to ours. They have like ghettos and cops and schools, and it's all just copies of the same two people.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So okay, I forgot what it was. But yeah, the wife sees, Rick and Morty then, and she assumes that they killed her husband. And again, it's like, what? The Rick and Morty are like ants compared to them.
Yeah.
What would they have done? So like, I don't know why she assumes that. But yeah, they end up taking mug shots, and they're thrown in jail, and they have to have a big court case, which again, I think is like, it's just funny. But I like how this doesn't last too long. Like, it pretty much jumps to like the court case. And a lawyer comes in. He's like, these small people weren't read their Miranda rights, so like we gotta veto this court case. Like, they weren't, read their, you have a right to the attorney, blah blah blah. So like, the court case is null. You can't try them.
You study criminal justice. Is this a real thing where like if you're not read your Miranda rights, the court case gets like shut down, or was this something?
Yeah, pretty much. If you don't read them the Miranda rights like that, it'll like fuck up the whole court case, and like it wouldn't get thrown out immediately like that, but like it probably would not have stood in court.
Right. Okay. So that
that's the big thing. It's like you have to read people their rights. If you don't read them their rights, they can be like, well, I didn't know, and
yeah,
that pretty much knows it.
So I think I do. You have to read them the rights, like if you have to read it exactly. But I just never knew the consequences of like what happens if you don't type of thing. So
Yeah, no, they don't pretty much throw out the case if you don't read them the rights.
so you could like commit like a mass murder and all that type of stuff, and you don't get your rights read, then you're pretty much
Well, okay, maybe not that. That's why I say like if you commit fucking like a mass murder, like it wouldn't get thrown out immediately. It probably would like really fuck up the case.
Yeah. But I just made it sound like I'm planning on doing that. That's not the case. That was just an extreme example.
Right, you're like, interesting.
And I have to basically like, you know, I have to go into it like with the hope that I'm not going to get my rights read, and then I'm going to go do all that, and then my rights get read. I'm like, oh shit, wait, I didn't think you were going to read my rights type of thing. Like,
well, make sure they say when they say, "Do you understand?" Because they have to like verbally confirm that you understood your rights.
That's true, yeah.
So if they say, "Do you understand?" and you don't answer them or something, and they just like arrest you, they don't like confirm. Then that same thing, you know, they have to like make sure you are confirmed that you understood your rights.
I like to think that that's what happened to Rick and Morty. They got asked.
Basically they read Rick and Morty their rights, and Rick just told them like fuck off.
So
because Rick didn't confirm. Yeah.
But yeah, let's continue with the A plot, type of thing. So
yeah, they basically leave the courthouse scot free. They're good to go. But then they realize because they're so small that like their biggest hurdle in this whole thing is going to be just like walking down the courthouse steps.
Mm-hmm.
Which I like that. Like, I don't know, that's just funny to me. That like when you're so small, like something like walking down the stairs becomes like a big fucking hassle.
That makes sense, yeah.
And it's dangerous too. Like we see, they end up having to like walk climb.
Yeah, I do like this too because Vic points this out that like this is stuff they leave out of the adventures, but like. Yeah, this is probably hard, you know. This is the type of stuff they usually do, like a jump cut type before, like a time jump type of thing.
Well, yeah, they do a jump cut to like the B plot, and then they cut back, and they're like rock climbing.
Yeah,
and then Rick points out like, you know, this is the stuff they usually like would cut away from.
Yeah, so I kind of like that this was difficult for them and everything like that.
Remember in Breaking Bad where like Gus and Jesse had to like walk like a couple miles. Or like a couple hours, like back, like from Mexico to like America.
Yeah.
Imagine that was the whole episode, just Jesse and Gus, like on the road, like just like walking.
That would have been cool.
Yeah. Honestly, I know what that's another one where I'm like, you know, I say that as a joke. That would have been a shitty episode. But honestly, I would have loved that as a whole episode.
Oh, I remember we made a joke when like Mike handcuffed Walt and they had to sit there all night, like until like the next day. Like, what did they talk about during that time?
Yeah, they kind of just like making small talk, or did they just like angrily stare at each other for an hour?
I would have liked if they did like a what they were doing during that time type of thing, like a YouTube, like it's like a mini series type of thing, or like a mini short type of thing. So.
Well, it's kind of funny with the Red versus Blue. That's kind of something we praise the miniseries for. Where it's kind of nice to see what the characters are doing, like in between seasons.
Yeah.
So yeah, honestly, I like when shows do that. Or you know, Rick and Morty does that with like Interstellar Cable, where they'll just like kind of sit down and watch TV for a whole episode.
Yeah. And then it got old, so they ended that.
Yeah, honestly, I would have liked it if they kept doing that.
I'm pretty sure one of the episodes was bad, so they like stopped it because I'm pretty sure the episode where like Morty's putting all the memory things on that was made because one of the TV ones was bad because like
Morty's mind blowers. Yeah. I mean, the bottom episodes are basically just that, you know, what the characters are kind of doing in between, like, you know, like a little one-offs.
I mean, like you said,
anyway.
Dragon Ball.
Oh yeah, Dragon Ball. So you ended up having like 100 of them. Or and some of them are cool. You know, one of them is just like Goku and Piccolo go to get their driver's license.
Yeah.
You know, because like his wife was nagging him that he didn't get his license, so he goes to like drive a car and he's like really bad at it.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're kind of just like climbing. But you know, and Rick is like still complaining. He's trying to get Morty to like just call it quits and portal back home. Because of course Rick has his portal gun. So they're like, okay, hey, we can just quit the adventure, leave right now. And Morty's like, no, we're not doing that. And I feel like, honestly, if Rick was being such an asshole, Morty probably would have given in. But because Rick is being such a dick about it, Morty, like, doesn't want to cave.
Yeah, and I can't blame him.
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, as they're climbing the step, they realize there's, like, a small tavern, like, for, like, regular-sized people, like, just on the step.
I think that's awesome that someone just said, "Hey, we'll just build a small tavern on this step right here," type of thing.
Right. I think here that is also like a because it's funny how they just did like the fantasy setting, but then the Giants have like a real modern day like justice system. But then we're kind of cutting back to like the fantasy setting where that's a big like fantasy trope.
Yeah,
is like having like a little cavern or not tavern, with a bunch of like monsters in it or something.
yeah. I wonder what the Giants think when they go to the small set and like, they're like, what the fuck is this shit, like, type of thing, like when they see all this fantasy stuff. I wonder what the Giants think when they go there.
The Giants are like average people, and then they're like they have a bunch of small people. Who are like, why the fuck are they like all medieval?
Yeah.
But then they go to the bar and they're just like ordering drinks, and the waitress is like, "Oh, we're almost there."
Yeah.
We're not making that time.
Hey, don't
the
say
waitress
that.
like names a bunch of like weird fantasy drinks, and Rick is just like, "Look, can I just have like 2 fucking regular drinks?"
Yeah.
And Morty gets mad at him. He's like, "No, Rick, stop being rude." He's like, "Oh, we'll have 2 of the blue whatevers." And she's like, "All right, that'll be 25 schmeckles." And Rick is like, "Is that a lot?" Which I like that in like fantasy settings where they're like, what the fuck is the currency?
Right, yeah. Because sometimes they don't explain it in the fantasy, like, movies or anything like that. So it's like, what is that type of thing? So, and again, I like characters when they're in, like, fish out of water situations. And that's kind of all Rick and Morty episodes when they go to a different universe and all that type of stuff, type of thing. So,
yeah. Honestly, Star Wars kind of has that problem where it's a small problem, but, like, their currency is credits. And they'll be like, "Oh my god, that's like 1,000 credits." I'm like, "Is that a lot?" I don't know what the equivalent would be,
That is kind of funny that Star Wars calls it credits, because obviously here we have credits. Sometimes it can be good or bad type of thing. So.
Right. But they mean credits as in like instead of like the dollar, it's a credit.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I know what you mean, like where it's like a credit score for like a financial thing. Yeah. But I mean that's pretty common for like all fantasy and sci-fi shit to like not use dollars, obviously, because why the fuck would they use a dollar?
Right. But I do like that Rick kind of makes fun of that trope in fantasy. Like, is that a lot type of thing? So.
Yeah, and the guy is like, "Oh, it'll cost 25 schmeckles to like for me to give you a ride down the steps."
Yeah.
Again, it's like, okay, 25 to get a ride down the steps, but also 25 for 2 drinks. It's like, how does that match up?
I don't know.
Yeah. But I like how Rick and Morty kind of have this argument here, like I said, where Rick is like giving Morty shit. He's like, "Okay, Morty, this adventure sucks. Just admit it. Like, let's leave." And Morty's like, "You know what, Rick? I go along with so much of your bullshit. Like, why can't you just like let me have this? Like, like, why do you gotta just be a downer the entire time?" And he just kind of storms off and goes to the bathroom.
Because I think the thing to point out, too, that we haven't really pointed out is not only does Morty give up all this stuff for Rick, he doesn't, like, have this attitude towards Rick. Like, he's pretty into the adventures for the most part.
It's like Rick agreed to go on this adventure, and all he did the entire time was complain.
Yeah. And Morty, it's the complete opposite, where, like, he's more so, like, he's actually curious about what the adventure is, asking a lot of questions, showing that he's at least somewhat interested in the adventure.
Yeah, Morty can complain, but, like, he's also, like, tries to have fun with it, and, like, he asks questions, and Rick the whole time just not getting. And to be fair, that is the point, that Rick was being unfair, and, like, he kind of comes around, and he gives Morty a fair shot at the end.
Yeah.
And he, like, meets him in the middle. So I'm fine with that. I think it's just, like, it's a little too obnoxious. And like I said, it lasts too long. Like, it is like 95% of the plot. It's like Rick just bitching.
Yeah, because we're at the end. This is pretty much the end of it here, so.
Right. So, again, I just would have liked if you're gonna do that, maybe have Morty say this to him earlier, or like maybe not have Rick complain right away, have like start complaining, as I said, like around the court area.
Yeah, I agree.
So because for what it is, it's like I get it. I get the point. It's like it's supposed to be a character thing where it comes around, he was all wrong. But it's just kind of annoying to have Rick bitch for 95% of the plot.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. But still, I like the character. I like the idea of it. It just wasn't executed the best.
Yeah, they could have executed it better.
But I kind of like Rick seems to kind of now that because Rick's an alcoholic. Now that they're like in a tavern, Rick is seeming to like come around to it. And I think what Morty said did kind of like get to him.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like once Morty like wants to like gets back in the bathroom and he wants to leave, Rick is like, no, Morty, I'm like having fun now.
Yeah.
But again, I feel like part of that was also just because like now they're like just in a bar basically.
Right, definitely. But yeah, let's get to the next thing. So I'll say this, like I said before, this episode we were supposed to do something lighthearted these reviews. I was thinking, it's our first video back. Let's not do anything Yellow Jackets with the crazy couple of weeks.
This is really fucked up. This is one of probably the most fucked up moments in the show.
Yeah. But
yeah, like I said, while in the outside of the bar, Rick is like doing karaoke and he's like gambling.
Yeah.
But Morty's in the bathroom, he's watching his hands, and there's a nice friendly Jelly Bean man right next to him, and he's like, "Hello, I'm Mr. Jelly Bean." He's got like a nice goofy voice. And again, it's like fantasy setting. It's like whimsical, goofy.
Mm-hmm.
And Morty's he's a kid. He's like, "Oh, hi, Mr. Jelly Bean. I'm on an adventure, but it's getting sidetracked. I don't know if that's good." And the Jelly Bean, he's offering good advice. He's like, "Well, that's the whole point of an adventure is for it to go off the rails. You don't know what's supposed to happen in an adventure."
The scene, by the way, if you watch this episode the first time around, you're not going to think anything of it, but what he says is like, oh, okay, this isn't tying in really well. Like, he's trying, like, you can kind of see what he's doing here when you actually watch this episode a few times.
Oh, yeah, or like from the get-go, he had shitty intentions. Well, again, Morty's like, hey, you're right, I got to go with the flow. And Mr. Jellybean is like, yeah, go with the flow. And he starts rubbing Morty's shoulders. And then Morty immediately was creeped out. He's like, okay, I'm going to go. And Mr. Jellybean starts grabbing him more. He's like grabbing his like stomach and rubbing it. He's like, no, go with the flow. And Morty's like, okay, no, seriously, dude, you're making me uncomfortable. Like, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And then, Mr. Jellybean starts getting a bit really aggressive. And basically, Mr. Jellybean tries to rape Morty. It is basically the thing.
Yeah, and there's really no other way to go around it. So,
like freaking him, and he stops fucking talking all whimsical. He gets like his voice gets deeper, and he's like, "You're such a tease." Like, I'm not just let this happen. Like, yeah, it's real fucking creepy.
I don't think we can
talking like an actual rapist.
Yeah.
Basically.
I think even though this isn't what Justin Roiland got kicked off the show for. Exactly. It doesn't also help that he got kicked off the show too, like a couple seasons ago for
he got kicked off for like domestic abuse, right?
Yeah, but still, it doesn't help though. I mean, I know this is different, but still, domestic abuse type of thing.
It's not a 1-for-1, but it is a little yikes in hindsight.
Yeah. So.
Thankfully Morty is able to fight him off, because Mr. Jellybean had him pinned on the toilet. But Morty's able to fight him off, and he just fucking bashes his head with the toilet seat and breaks the toilet seat. Poor Morty is fucking traumatized from this. I don't think they would really bring this back, which I think they should have. I feel like this would have been something that we're like you said earlier, Rick and Morty's really good at bringing one-off things back. And I don't think they ever really bring this back. I feel like they should have.
They probably won't too, for the reasons I just mentioned too, type of thing. So
yeah, well, but again, that didn't happen for seasons later.
Right.
I mean, if they weren't gonna bring it back any time before that, they probably weren't ever gonna bring it back.
Yeah. I would have liked, I guess, if they did something with it, but then. I don't know, it's tough, because, again, knowing the stuff we know now, would Rick and Morty have been pulled from the... would they have even continued the show at all if, all that stuff come out with Justin Roiland and all that type of stuff?
Again, that's why I'm saying, even if he stayed on the show and none of that shit with him happened, like I'm saying, I don't think they were ever planning on bringing this back.
Yeah. But I'm just saying.
And again, like, this is season 1. We're halfway through season 1.
Yeah.
And he didn't get kicked off like season 5.
So
that's like, plenty of time where they could have done something with it, and they never did.
Yeah, I guess it would have been nice to do something with it, but I'm just saying in hindsight now, maybe it's a good thing they didn't, because maybe Rick and Morty would be canceled.
I'm just saying, like ignoring the real life stuff. Like, I think it's a shame. Because like they portray this as a very like real and scary thing. And I'm glad they didn't just like drop it. Like, it kind of continues throughout the rest of the episode.
Yeah. But yeah, it would have been nice if they would have done something with this type of thing.
That's not this episode's fault. I think it's more of a fault of future episodes.
Yeah.
Where, like, of all the plot points to like bring back, I feel like this was pretty high up there and should have.
Yeah, definitely. Especially too, it would have made, if Morty didn't want to go on any adventures or something, it could have, like, they could have stuck up for him or something like that, or like got him to do it type of thing.
I feel like that's just a thing with Rick and Morty in general. A problem they will have later on is that, like, some things that like are really important, they kind of don't carry over like you think they would. They're talking about a major villain in a future season. Like, the next episode kind of follows up on it, but like not really as much as it should.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway. Morty leaves the bathroom. He's obviously very messed up. Like, his hair's all messed up. He's like sweating. He's all upset. And he's like, "Hey, Rick, like, I'm done. Like, I don't care anymore about the stupid bat. Like, I just want to go home." And like, he's very, he's like trying his hardest not to like cry, and he ends up does start like crying a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why like this is they're portraying it like very real, and like this isn't like a fantasy, haha thing. Like, they're portraying this as like a very real thing.
Yeah, I like this a lot.
But again, I like how now that Rick's kind of having fun. But then he like notices something's up with Morty. Like, Morty's like all distraught, and he looks over and he sees the beat up Jelly Bean like leaving the bathroom, and Rick just like eyes him, like he's like squinting, and he's like his eyes like following him leaving, like Rick could tell what happened.
Yeah.
And I like that. Like, he's like he like, and then obviously Rick does like he holds on to the grudge and he ends up killing the Jelly Bean.
I liked that. That was good. But, yeah.
Yeah, but I like that. He ends up being nice to Morty. But I like how he doesn't like say anything. Like, he doesn't say that he knows what happened.
Because I don't think
just like starts to think. Because obviously, I feel like talking about it probably would have just like made Morty feel worse.
Yeah, I agree. Well, just a pretty well.
Him just being, "Hey, Morty, I just won some money here. Let's bring the money, to the village, and like help them out. Like, hey, a good adventure has to have a good end."
Not always, but I agree.
Basically, like Rick is like throwing the bet to like make Morty feel better, which I like.
I thought that was good. Yeah, I think it somewhat redeems Rick for how he was acting. In this episode.
I like what the idea of what they were doing. When Rick is like being an asshole, and he kind of comes around, like when he realizes like Morty kind of needs like support.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Rick was having fun, at the tavern, so I like that. But again, he was winning money, but he decided to like give up that money to like make Morty feel better.
And I like to think Morty wanted to go to the tavern too to kind of see if that would turn Rick around on the adventure type of thing, because obviously he knows Rick's an alcoholic. So obviously I don't think Morty expected it was going to go the way it did, but
Yeah, but they end up hiring the slug guy, and they end up writing him down. They give the money to the townspeople. And sure enough, Rick is holding up his end of the bargain. Where from now on, every 10 adventures, Morty gets to pick one. And again, that is a plot point they end up continuing on, which I like that they kept that.
Yeah, they brought this up a few times, which I think is really good and everything like that. So,
but the townspeople are like, "Hey, you should meet our king, heroes." And the king is the fucking Jelly Bean, and he's like, he's wearing his king outfit, but he's all beat up still. And Morty's like, "Rick, he's like, oh, Rick, we need to get the fuck out of here." So they end up running away. They leave. The portal closes. But then Rick like reopens the portal, sticks his hand out, and fucking kills King Jelly Bean.
I can't blame him for that.
Which, again, I like that where, Rick's trying to, like, not make sure Morty doesn't know he knows what happened. So, like, they leave, portal closes, and then presumably, like, once Morty left, then he opens the portal back up.
Yeah. I do like this. Mr. Jellybean being the kid wasn't a surprise when I saw it at the time. I'm like, okay, yeah. Especially because he lived from the bathroom incident. So I'm like, are we going to see Mr. Jellybean again? And we did see him again, and he's the...
Yeah, I like that Rick killed him, like, I think obviously Rick is, like, pissed off that happened to Morty.
Yeah. Kind of showing that he cares about Morty.
Presumably Rick never told Morty he did that. So, like, he didn't do it to make Morty feel better. He's just like, no, that's my grandson. Like, you fucked up.
Yeah.
I like it because last episode, like we said, the kind of, like, nice little bonding moment they had ended up being a simulation.
Yeah.
So, I'm glad this kind of ended up being real,
Yeah. I guess before we talk about the B plot, or the other A plot, whatever you want to call it, why don't you talk about the end credits, because it kind of ties into this plot.
Yeah. So we come back to the fantasy setting, and a man is standing in front of a statue, and another man, fantasy man, like, comes up and he's like, "Oh, sir, in our king's, like, closet, I found these pictures." And again, I like how it's like a fantasy setting, but they have pictures, and the other guy, he like it carries a lighter on him.
Yeah, so it's like, what is this?
So it's like,
and the Giants have their own, like,
disgusted and want to throw, huh?
And the Giants are like have their own society, like, going on type of thing. So it's like,
right. So it's like a fantasy setting, but they have like modern shit. But the other man's disgusted, and they're like, "We must tell the people about this." He's like, "No, burn it." And the other man's like confused, and he explains that the image of what people think he is, and like the inspiration he can give to people is better than the jelly bean he truly was. And it cuts to it pans up to the statue, and it's King Jellybean with a little kid.
Yeah. So
basically, obviously, so it's like basically like, people think he was such a noble kid, such a great guy, and like he can inspire people to be good, when actually he was a piece of shit pedophile.
Yeah, and that's not uncommon for.
But he's kind of in real life, Mr. Like Bill Cosby, where he for decades people thought he was such a stand-up guy. He was involved in a lot of like good programs. He was on a TV show that was like promoted good morals, and he ended up being a piece of shit, like, sexual predator.
Yeah. And like I said, this isn't uncommon for, like, famous figures and everything like that. They look like they're going to be these great people, and then some of them end up being pieces of shit, like King Jellybean. And I think that was kind of a study on that type of thing. So yeah. And as we find out, Justin Roiland's going to be the same way after season 5. So it's, I wonder if Justin Roiland
well, okay, again, domestic abuse. Again, we got to clarify. Don't get me wrong, it's bad, he's a piece of shit. But, clarify, as far as we know, he's not raping children.
As far as we know.
As far as we know. Again, bad person. But, again, it's like comparing fucking Ted Bundy to Hitler, It's like, one's a piece of shit, the other one's just like Jesus.
Right. But yeah, I like the A plot though. I could have done without, the Rick not being into it, but I kind of like that for a change Morty got to steer direction of the, the adventure and everything like that. I like that we got a different dynamic. And I do like this because they bring this back. This isn't just a one-off where, Morty just says, "Oh, I'm going to get to the adventures," and then they never bring this up again. I like that this comes back a few times. What did you think of the A plot? I would give it like maybe 1 thumb up. Maybe thumb in the middle.
Okay, that's a whole new rating system, I guess. Yeah, sure. I'll give it half a thumb. Fucking cut off the top of my thumb.
There you go. But yeah, so let's talk about the other A plot. That's the thing I liked about this episode. Either plot could have been the A plot.
Like I said at the beginning of the review, I forgot this was like an A and B plot. I thought these were individual episodes.
So I kind of like that. It's kind of like episode 2, the Inception and the dog taking over the world episode. They were both kind of equal. here, I think was a better example of that because they both if I had to say which I think depending on who you ask, both plots are pretty interesting, and they both have a good level of importance to each plot and everything like that.
Yeah, whereas with the Inception one, it was very clearly like the Inception one was better than the dog one.
Yeah. So Rick shows him that Meeseeks box, because obviously he can't. All the family was asking Rick to do odd tasks like fix the dishwasher, help someone with a book report, or was some type of homework. And Jerry wanted something. I forget what he wanted. Probably a job. Because Rick has to go deal with the A plot. And also he doesn't give a shit because, as you've seen, Rick will half-ass inventions, which is why the dog plot went so long. So he says, this is a Meeseeks box, and pretty much what happens is you make a request, and it actually is a block, and you press a button, and, like, a Meeseeks-like figure pops out. I like the Meeseeks figure. I think he's drawn very well, and the voice actor who voices him does it very well. It doesn't say who does it, so AJ... I think you said the dog, Snowball, was the same voice actor. I can't look it up, so I just have to pretty much take your word for it.
I totally forgot. I don't know if I did say that. Owen, you would be putting words in my mouth, and I would have no clue.
No, you definitely did. I have that on recording. I remember. I remember because you said.
Pull up that video right now. No, I'm kidding. Don't actually do that.
I don't have time for that. Plus, it's probably deep in the video too. Mr. Meeseeks, we find out you make a request, he pops out, and he fulfills the request, and then he dies. He just explodes and dies. That sounds dope, right? Like, that's not really fun, but as you're going to see in this episode, that's the whole purpose in life. They just want to fulfill the request and just die at the end. I think this is meant to be comedy, but I was kind of thinking about this. I think this is kind of like a take a little bit on society. Not that they want to die, but kind of once they fulfill the big requests, sometimes they'll lose meaning of like what they're doing on Earth anymore type of thing. So they'll kind of try to find like a new path and all that type of stuff.
I didn't even think about that. I thought just the joke was that like, it's funny that they want to just die immediately. Like they just crave death.
Yeah. I mean, it could be that too, but I could be overthinking it. But I think, sometimes people will get into a path, and once they kind of fulfill the one request, they're like, well, what do I do now? We spent all this time trying to fulfill this request. What's my life sometimes anymore? It's not always a negative thing. I think that's a bit of a misconception, but then it kind of leaves people wondering, like, well, what now type of thing, Kind of like, people's whole life, they want to get that college degree, and then, once we get the degree, it's like, well, what do we do now type of thing? We have this degree.
Oh, you're calling me out pretty hard on that one.
I was calling both of us out, actually. So, so,
remember how I said earlier, like, I shot a bullet at you and the bullet fucking looped around and shot me in the head? On that one, you just, like, fucking held a grenade right next to us and just blew us up both up.
Yeah, just blowing up. Like the Meeseeks, ironically enough.
Like the Meeseeks, yeah, there you go. Looped it back around. Good job.
So,
that's why you're the pro one.
Everyone kind of wonders what to do with the Meeseeks box, and Jerry actually is making a good point here. Like, don't make the request, because Rick actually points this out, which I didn't really notice until I watched it this time, that, like, they can help you do the task, but it's not going to be always easy. It's going to be a struggle, depending on what you ask for. So Jerry actually points that out.
Well, I love the joke where, like, Rick says, keep it simple. And immediately they were like, Summer was like, make me popular, which is like, obviously that would be a really difficult thing to like get everybody in an entire high school to like her.
Right.
And then Beth is like, make me a more complete woman, which was like, wow, that's like a very philosophical, like that could require fucking years of therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And Jerry's is really simple, where he's like, help me get 2 strokes off my golf kid.
Yeah. And I like that you think it's going to be like Jeff and Beth and Summer's thing. That's going to. Yeah, I don't know what Jeff came
from fucking Yellow Jackets.
Sure, why not? So that could be a fun video. What if every character in the show review had a Meeseeks box? What would they ask for? Type of thing.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
But anyhow, so Beth You think Beth and Summer's thin's going to be the difficult thin, but Jerry's is going to be like easy type of thin. But I like that they actually kind of flipped it and it's the other way around. But it's not like surprising because we've seen especially if you've watched the last episode and stuff like that. So, because again,
Jerry like in a good way. Well, like he's a funny character, but like he just sucks at shit.
Because last episode he was in like a 5% simulation, and he overtook it. By the way, when we talk about that simulation, what do you think that simulation would have looked like at like 1%? Like, what? Did anyone have said anything? Like, it's like
it's just like a floating head, or like it's like fucking like abstract art, you know?
Would Jerry would Jerry still fuck that up somehow and be control for himself? I think he would.
Yeah, I would like to think Jerry would still not notice the difference.
But yeah, so. So Jerry has to take 2 strokes off his golf game, and Summers goes well. The Meeseeks thing holds almost like a school president type of thing, like speech talking about why they should like Summer, and everyone kind of starts to like Summer. So like the Meeseeks dies, I guess, or stops existing.
Well, I think the principal and then is like, hey, by the way, I'm in a middle custody battle. Could you? And the Meeseek disappears. He's like, oh, okay, never mind. I'll ask Summer for your number.
Oh no, she doesn't have his number, unfortunately. So
yeah.
By the way, that principal we never see again. I think after season 1, I think he stopped showing up altogether. So
that's funny because he was in the first episode. I know he's in the next episode. Yeah, that is weird. I never noticed that.
Yeah. I could be talking my ass on that one because I haven't seen.
Maybe he lost the custody battle and then he killed himself.
Well, not that one. Maybe that one, but what about the other?
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, this one becomes a big old bug man. But yeah.
Yeah. The last time I'm gonna be making that joke until the next episode. So.
Yeah.
But well, I guess not though, because they switch it. See, every time I start talking about it, they can't get off of it, type of thing. So,
right, it's weird to think. Yeah, we're almost there. We're like, oh yeah, fuck. All these people end up meeting a horrible, disgusting fate worse than that.
Yeah, well, I think they all die at the end too, anyways. So, actually, if you think about it, after season 5, everyone in this universe either becomes a bug person or dies. Like everyone's
right. That's why I'm saying the bug person is fate worse than death.
Yeah. But yeah.
Just remember Jerry pointed out, it's like, oh, some of the brains are intact. You wonder if some of them were awake for the whole thing, just screaming, unable to control themselves.
Yeah. You know what's fucked up? I mean, we'll talk about this. In other universes, Rick fixed the issue, but this Rick was too lazy to find the solution type of thing.
Yeah, I know. That's funny. So Rick probably could have solved it. He just got lazy.
Yeah. Well, then again, he probably just wanted to destroy Rick Prime's universe type of thing.
Yeah.
So he didn't care who went with him. But yeah. So continuing. Well,
that's kind of a nice point. Because remember I said at the beginning of this episode, Morty was didn't want a herd version, like demonic clones of his family.
Mm-hmm.
But then, when he sees his real family again after so long, as Jerry pointed out, he treated them like they weren't.
Yeah. I like how we just basically reviewed episode 6 without even reviewing episode 6. So,
yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to it. But yeah, it's an important episode.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Summer's request is fulfilled. Because they even mentioned, Summer, it wasn't Summer being popular, it was Summer when she comes back to the house, she mentions, she didn't want to be, she didn't care about being popular. The most popular person in school, which I think is kind of a cool thing to bring up. And pretty much Beth is, just kind of deep, pulling her deepest things, talking about how she had all these dreams and aspirations that she wanted to do, but it feels like that she's just not the same person that she was. And then Meeseeks mentions you have to kind of get rid of the things that are holding you back and all that type of stuff. And this is kind of the Meeseeks implying that that he should jump Jerry and everything like that and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I noticed that. It's the Christmas episode had to bring up divorcing Jerry out of nowhere, and then this one also did that. So I think it's literally just Beth wants to just talk about divorcing Jerry at any opportunity.
What's kind of funny about this, the next episode, what's kind of fucked up is because of Rick and Morty, they end up...
Kind of funny. This Beth and Jerry end up having like one of the healthiest relationships when you think about it.
Yep. And you know what's fucked up? The Jerry that comes out of this universe up until he dies is probably the most badass Jerry will ever be, type of thing. So
yeah.
Yeah. So when the Basics kind of makes her realize that type of thing, like Jerry's kind of the thing that's holding her back from being a complete woman, he disappears. But meanwhile, you're seeing that Jerry is struggling with that.
Well, also Beth was like about to kiss the Mr. Basics, and then he disappeared, and she was like, "Oh."
Yeah.
And the waiter was like, "You want more wine?" And she's like, "You know what? I think I had enough."
Yeah. And I do like that mainly Beth changes from this experience. Like the rest of the episode, you know, she's kind of acting like very like the complete woman that she wanted to act like, pretty much, which I'll talk about. So then, and weirdly enough, I mean, Jerry was kind of fucking up on his own, but that's also what causes Jerry to fuck up more. Like he's putting his focus into like that and all that type of stuff. Jerry's not, like I said, he's fucking up. He can't get 2 strokes off his golf game, and the Meeseeks is just trying everything that he can to get, you know, Jerry to take 2 strokes off his golf game and everything like that, and it's just not happening. No, he's giving him all the advice that he can, but some people just can't play golf, I guess. So I guess Jerry's one of those people.
Well, it's also like, you know, I feel like 2 strokes isn't a lot. You know, like you could still be shitty at the game, but like still get, you know, improve your stroke count by 2.
Yeah. So Mr. Meeseeks doesn't know what to do at this point because Jerry's, you know, because he's giving Jerry all these instructions and Jerry's just kind of being an asshole to him and everything like that. Not like I think to him, but he's just mad at himself too that he can't, you know, because he asked for this simple request and he's not even able to do it. So Mr. Meeseeks summons... I kind of like that they did this. He summons another Mr. Meeseeks to try to help him out. And this obviously is going to spiral and really go down a dark path. And this Mr. Meeseeks, you know, is trying to give advice. And then when it comes back, Jerry's back at home still trying to get 2 strokes off his golf game. And at this point, we see that, like, off screen, because this is when they cut back to the A plot, the other one, like a bunch of Mr. Meeseeks has been summoned and is trying to get Jerry to get 2 strokes off his golf game, and he just isn't able to do it and everything like that. Eventually Jerry just starts to throw in the towel, which is pretty much human nature. You know, that makes sense because Jerry's like,
yeah, well, this has been like a whole day basically. And you know, yeah, to be fair, I'd be pretty pissed off too if I was doing this for like hours and like I had like a million blue people screaming at me.
Mm-hmm. And during this time, like, Summer and Beth have come home, and Beth got a new haircut, and obviously Jerry didn't even like notice. So this is kind of like when Summer and Beth are kind of giving Jerry shit for like not
Yeah, I like how when Jerry doesn't notice, Summer's the one who gets pissed at him.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. And Jerry's even like, you know, these Meeseeks, huh? They're crazy. And like Beth and Summer are like, this is pretty. Yeah, Meeseeks have been gone for like hours, dude. Like, you know, I don't know what you're talking about, type of thing. So
yeah. So basically, it's like making Jerry feel even worse that like he had such a simple request, but even with like 100 Mr. Meeseeks, like they can't help him out.
Yeah. So So Jerry keeps trying to succeed, and at this point, Beth is just like, I'm going out to dinner. And Beth, you know, Jerry's obviously trying to save his marriage too because he realizes that Beth is acting different ever since her Mr. Meeseeks disappeared and everything like that. So he's like, no, I'll take you to dinner. And at this point, I forgot to mention before this, we see that the Meeseeks are like starting to get tired and they're getting like older and everything like that. Because they're not this is like the longest Mr. Meeseeks has like lived.
Yeah, like the oldest one is like has like a bunch of like he looks like he's like rotting. Like he has like a bunch of like beard, like hair growths on him.
Yeah.
Like it's like uneven beard, and like he's got a bunch of like bruises or like looks like rot on him, you know.
Yeah.
And he's like getting paler. Like he just looks unhealthy and sick.
And yeah, Jerry decides, like, I gotta save my marriage here. There's more important things than getting 2 strokes off my golf game. I'm gonna take Beth out to dinner and stuff, pretty much. And obviously, this is when the Mr. Meeseeks like finally lose it, type of thing. They're like, I can't take this anymore. The quest can't be fulfilled, and all of them. This is when that meme that you mentioned is like, no, he wrote me into this, and they're just all pointing each other out like, no, why did you vote me into this? Why did you vote me into this? And they were like doing this, I think, until like off screen and all that type of stuff. It was really great.
Like I said about the oldest one, I like how he's like, it's been a few, we've been trying to help him for a few days now, which is like an eternity for Mr. Meeseeks.
Yeah. And I did like this because the voice actor, you could tell, had fun with this because he basically just had an argument with himself. And I like that all the Mr. Meeseeks were doing this. They got really creative, I thought, with Mr. Meeseeks and everything like that. Like, the Mr. Meeseeks then, I think, you thought it was going to go one way and it went like a completely different direction type of thing. Honestly, the Mr. Meeseeks thing, I would say, is probably more of a twist than the M. Night Shyamalan episode that we just saw type of thing.
Yeah.
And I like that it just gets darker and darker and darker type of thing. It just never gets better.
They basically just start like killing each other. Which, honestly, I'm kind of surprised they didn't start doing that sooner. Like, if that's their whole, if they just want to die, like, why didn't they all just, like, kill each other?
But the problem is, yeah, so they're all beating each other up, they're bleeding and everything like that, but they can't die because,
do they not die? Okay. Because I was wondering, it looks like they're killing each other. Okay, no, they're just, like, horribly wounding each other. Okay. Yeah. That's 10 times worse.
But they can't die because the quest, they have to fulfill the request. So they all kind of realize this, like, as they're fighting. This fight was really good, too. And I like the blood that they used. It was, like, white, which I guess makes sense, because it's all, like, alien-like and everything like that. I think it's, like, the one that started with Jerry realizes nothing's going to be accomplished here. Like, we can't die until the quest is fulfilled. So then they're like, well, the quest can't be fulfilled. And then they realize, oh, we can fulfill this request. We're going to take all strokes off of Jerry's game when we kill him. I kind of wish they wouldn't have said, though, like, when we kill him type of thing. They would have just said, like, all strokes off his game and implied that was the case instead of just flat out saying it type of thing. Because I thought that would have been, like, cooler type of thing.
I agree.
But, Beth and Jerry are at the restaurant. Beth tells Jerry that she's thinking about taking, like, a trip to, I don't even remember where, but she's going to take a trip.
She just said, like, Europe, and Jerry's like, oh, where? Italy, Turkey, Poland, and then Jerry, like, is getting insecure because he's, like, saying, like, all those countries are, like, ones where the men are, like, more, like, aggressive.
Yeah. So
basically implying Beth wants to go to Europe and meet a man who's, like, more dominant, I guess.
Which is kind of funny because I'm pretty sure that's what Joe's wife does, like in one of the episodes. So, which is kind of funny because then the guy that she ends up cheating on with Joe with is also in a wheelchair. So, that's pretty funny.
Oh, from Family Guy.
Yeah.
I was like, who the fuck is Joe? And then, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she goes to France to have an affair.
Yeah. But all the Mr. Meeseeks break into the restaurant and get ready to kill Jerry, and Jerry books it. I gotta give him credit here. He did a really good job booking it with all these Mr. Meeseeks at once chasing him and everything like that. Yeah. And Jerry and Beth lock themselves in the freezer. And they're in the kitchen area and everything like that. And all the Mr. Meeseeks pretty much threaten to kill everyone in the restaurant if Jerry doesn't come out. And obviously Jerry's begging for his life. And Jerry basically realizes that everyone's pretty much going to die, all because he can't get 2 strokes off his golf game and everything like that. And Beth is actually the one that's able to kind of finally motivate him. And I like to think it's because now she's a complete woman and everything like that. That's what's helping her being able to motivate Jerry and everything like that. So Jerry comes out and he's able to get 2 strokes off his golf game, and all the Mr. Meeseeks celebrate death pretty much. I
love the joke. So he basically takes like a piece of food and like uses like an iron like pipe, to use it like a golf ball and like landed in like a pot, and most of them disappeared. And the person being held in that point said, "Oh, thank God." But one remained, and he was like, "I'm a bit of a stickler," and he pulls another knife. He's like, "What about your short stroke?"
And I do like, too, you don't even get to, like, digest the fact that Jerry accomplices, too. Like, this happens right away, too. You don't even have to take a breath, either.
Yeah. Like, he's literally like, "Oh, thank God," and then immediately the other one pops out.
Yeah.
And again, I like how up to this point, it seemed like all the Mr. Meeseeks were, like, the same personality. But then this one just pops up and he's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm a bit more of a stickler than the other guys.
Yeah.
So I want to make 100% sure you improved it."
Yeah. And he did. Good job. Yeah. Saved this guy's life. So.
It was a girl.
Yeah, it was a girl. Yeah, that's right.
Because during this, she's like, I think she says, like, "What the fuck is happening?"
Yeah.
Like, because she has no context for what's happening. Like, when Jerry makes the shot and everyone starts celebrating, she's like, "What the fuck? Why?"
I guess that's what's good about early Rick and Morty, like, seasons, because, like, everyone's out of context, but nowadays, like, for the most part, everyone's kind of
now
into
everyone's
it.
like, "Oh, you sci-fi bullshit."
Yeah.
Well, because they do a really good joke where after this happens, like, Jerry and Beth start, like, making out, and Jerry, like, says a cool line to the restaurant worker, like, "We'll take our food to go." And being expected to, like, cut, and, they go back home and they're all happy. But the guy's just like, "No, you have to stay here because the police are coming and they have so many questions."
Which is fair. I guess they got off easy.
And Jerry says, "Fair enough."
Yeah. And yeah, back at the house, it's all torn up and everything like that. And Jerry and Beth kind of have a nice conversation here. I kind of like that this didn't go away. Like, after Jerry did his thing, they wrapped up their thing, where Jerry...
Yeah, this was a nice deep one. I kind of wish, like we said earlier, I wish Rick and Morty's, like, argument was kind of like this, where, Beth and Jerry's thing didn't really, like, get in the way. It was kind of just, like, there, but it wasn't, like, in your face.
Yeah. But Jerry asks Beth if she's thinking about still taking that trip. And then Beth kind of thinks, like, I don't think so. And she kind of starts to realize that the Mr. Meeseeks was kind of like a lot of the guys in high school, where he basically was just trying to say anything so that way he could stop. Well, I mean, obviously it's not exactly like that, but like guys in high school, because he just said...
Yeah, I think she means, like, metaphorically.
Yeah, but I know, it just made it sound like it was unmetaphorically, though, so...
Yeah. A bunch of guys clone themselves and then, like, trapped her in a fucking... in a freezer, yeah.
Yeah. But he was basically saying everything that Beth wanted to hear. But yet, Jerry, you've stuck by me. And I do like that Jerry says, "Well, I did get you pregnant," type of thing. Saying, like, I kind of had to stick around type of thing. I didn't...
Yeah. And she even makes a face, like when he says that, of like, "Okay, you kind of ruined the mood when you said that."
And then Rick and Morty walk in, and Rick's just like, "What the fuck happened here?" type of thing. And all the family are upset, saying, like, your Meeseeks box did this. And then when they mentioned, that Jerry didn't ask for something simple, I like that Rick gives Jerry for it, and gives Jerry shit for it and everything like that. And he offers to clean up the house. He gets, like, another box, and they think it's going to be, like, something else, but it's actually, like, got cleaning supplies. But if you don't want it, then that's fine. And then, like, Rick breaks the fourth wall and talks, like, directly to the audience. And says, "Why don't you check out the next episode and see what other crazy shit's about to happen?" And he says, like, his catchphrase, "Wubba lubba din dub" type of thing. I probably butchered that terribly, but whatever.
Yeah, I thought it was really weird when they just all start breaking the wall in the last, like, 30 seconds of the episode. I did pick up. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's his catchphrase." I didn't notice that he started doing it here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like fourth wall breaks, but I feel like that one was really, like, just sudden and out of nowhere.
Especially too because it's what gives Rick his big catchphrase. So it's kind of weird that it was a fourth wall breaking moment that got him his catchphrase. Yeah. But I do kind of like. Yeah. I mean, this is foreshadowing in a way because Rick does say, check out the next episode to see what other crazy shit we'll be up to. Because the next episode is really crazy shit. So. So that was... Yeah,
that's the end of this episode. I like it a bit more than the last one. Since the last one was like a B-, bordering on a C+, I think this one's also a B-, but like bordering on a B.
I actually really like this episode. I'm going to go A-. I really like the Mr. Meeseeks plot. I think I like Mr. Meeseeks as a character. I just kind of like how crazy that gets and just the art style around him. And I just like to, Jerry... trying to be simple, like, is what messes up the whole plot. And you know, I do like the Rick and Morty plot, not, but the Mr. Meeseeks plot's the thing that I think he's a really memorable character and everything like that too. So I'm going A-.
Yeah, I like Mr. Meeseeks. I feel like I don't like him as much as other people. Like, I know he's like a fan favorite. I like him. You know, he's good enough. I don't think these episodes were as good as episodes 2 and 3.
That's
but
fair.
I still really enjoyed them. Again, I think both episodes did a really good job with the A and B plot. I think they did a better job at juggling that.
Yeah.
Because both of these A and B plots were like entertaining, and I wasn't like, oh man, I wasn't upset like going to the other plot,
But yeah,
so yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I really liked it. Again, a B-, maybe a B for me.
And that's the end of this video. Yeah, let's end this off. Is there anything you want to plug or promote before we end this?
No.
I know Putz Paws will get a video someday. Don't worry, it's gonna get a video someday.
And let you remember the name. It's funny. I set an alarm to do it, and then I just I was like, fuck, we have a video. I forgot.
Oh damn. But yeah, that's pretty much it on my end. Check out all of my channels. Check out Wrestling Fortune 44 for more of my wrestling content, and check out this channel. And for the most part, as of right now, I've been sticking to all the videos that I'm going to be doing, type of thing, which is not typically something that happens on both channels. Usually one channel suffers. I mean, it's obviously early days. It's the only video AJ and I have done so far, so we'll see what happens. But it's a good start.
Yeah, we're doing the season 2 premiere of Yellow Jackets tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that.
And now we're gonna focus. We're gonna finally do season 2 of Yellow Jackets, seasons 9 and 10 in RVB, and then we're gonna do that comparison video ranking of see what did the past and present better, and then we're gonna do some other videos after that. So just be on the lookout, and that's pretty much it, guys. And we will talk to you guys later.